The air hung heavy and silent. Crickets chirped, an owl hooted. The old water park stood abandoned, a skeletal silhouette against the moonlit sky. A chain-link fence, rusted with age, surrounded the park. It was a fragile barrier against the mysteries within.
Asterisk. Tim pressed his face against the cold metal. His breath fogged in the night air. He could almost smell the chlorine from summers past, hear the distant echo of laughter. But tonight, only silence greeted him.
A whisper slithered through the darkness. Tim spun around, heart pounding.
Who's there?
The only answer was the rustling of leaves in the night breeze. Tim hesitantly turned back to the fence. He felt a chill crawl up his spine. He wasn't alone. He could feel it. Tim's heart hammered against his ribs. The whisper echoed in his mind. He told himself it was the wind. It had to be. But deep down, a knot of fear twisted in his gut. He gripped the cold metal of the fence. His fingers traced the faded outline of a warning sign.
No trespassing.
He pushed the gate open, the rusty hinges groaning in protest. Each creak sounded like a scream in the stillness of the night. He stepped inside, the overgrown weeds brushing against his legs. The moon cast long, dancing shadows. Each one seemed to writhe and twist, taking on menacing forms. Tim's breath caught in his throat. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of metal, sounded like footsteps behind him.
You scared or something?
A figure emerged from the shadows. Max, Tim's older brother, grinned. He had a knack for showing up at the worst possible moments. Or were they the best? Tim couldn't decide.
You scared me. Don't do that.
Max laughed, a carefree sound that grated on Tim's nerves.
Come on, scaredy cat. Let's see what kind of ghost this place has.
Tim wanted to refuse. He wanted to run back home, climb into bed, and pull the covers over his head. But something held him back. Maybe it was Max's confidence, or maybe it was the thrill of fear itself. The air grew thick with the smell of mildew and stagnant water. The twisting slides loomed above them, skeletal and menacing. The brightly coloured paint was peeling, revealing the rusting metal beneath.
Remember the Screaming Serpent?
Tim shuddered. How could he forget? The Screaming Serpent, the tallest, fastest slide in the park, had been their favourite. Until the accident. They stood before it now, a coiled monster against the night sky. The once gleaming fiberglass was now faded and cracked. The metal steps leading to the top were rusted and twisted.
Let's go up.
Tim hesitated. He could almost hear the screams again, the splash of water, the panicked shouts. The sun beat down on the crowded water park. Laughter and screams echoed through the air. The scent of chlorine and sunscreen hung heavy.
Last one to the top is a rotten egg.
Max yelled, already halfway up the stairs of the Screaming Serpent. Tim scrambled after him, his heart pounding with excitement. He reached the top, panting. Max was already in line, his grin infectious. They sped down the twisting slide, the wind whipping past their faces. Water sprayed everywhere. Tim emerged at the bottom, breathless and exhilarated. But his laughter died in his throat.
Where was Max?
Tim opened his eyes. The present pressed in on him, cold and dark. The memory of that summer day felt like a lifetime ago. The water park, once a place of joy and laughter, was now a graveyard of memories.
Max, I don't like this.
His voice trembled. Max just laughed, a hollow sound in the stillness. He started up the rusted stairs of the Screaming Serpent. Each step creaked in protest, sending shivers down Tim's spine. He reluctantly followed, his hand trailing along the rusted railing. The metal was cold and rough beneath his fingers. As they climbed higher, the wind picked up. It howled through the skeletal frame of the slide, a mournful sound. Tim felt a drop of rain on his cheek, then another, and another.
They reached the top of the slide. The rain was falling harder now, a cold, insistent drizzle. The wind whipped Tim's hair into his eyes. He looked down the steep, twisting slide. It seemed to stretch on forever. "Max, let's just go," Tim pleaded. His voice was almost drowned out by the wind.
But Max wasn't listening. He was staring at something at the bottom of the slide. His eyes were wide with a strange mixture of fear and fascination. Tim followed his gaze. At the bottom of the slide, half hidden in the shadows, was a figure. It was tall and thin, almost skeletal. It didn't move. Tim's blood ran cold. He couldn't tear his eyes away. The figure at the bottom of the slide began to move. It swayed slightly, like a willow in the wind. Then it turned its head, and Tim felt a scream rise in his throat. The figure's face was pale and gaunt, its eyes hollow sockets. It was wearing a tattered swimsuit, the same one Max had worn that summer.
Tim stumbled back, his foot catching on the edge of the platform. He fell, tumbling over the edge of the slide. He screamed, the sound swallowed by the wind and the rain. He landed with a bone-jarring thud, his vision exploding in stars. He lay there for a moment, dazed, the rain pounding on his face. Then slowly, he sat up. The figure was gone.
Tim scrambled to his feet, his heart pounding. He looked around frantically, but there was no sign of the figure. Only the wind and the rain, and the looming shadows of the abandoned water park.
Max, where are you?" Tim cried out. His voice was raw with fear.
There was no answer. Only the echo of his own voice, swallowed by the storm. Panic welled up inside Tim. He was alone, lost in the heart of the haunting. He stumbled through the maze of slides and pools, the rain soaking him to the bone. Each turn seemed to lead him deeper into the darkness. Tim ran until he could run no more. He collapsed on the wet pavement, his chest heaving. He looked around, but everything looked the same in the darkness. He was lost, alone. A sound pierced the air, a low, mournful moan. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once.
Tim scrambled to his feet. He had to get out of here. He ran towards the sound of the fence, the only landmark he could remember. He burst through the gate and out into the street, the storm a distant roar behind him. He didn't stop running until he reached his house. He threw open the door and slammed it shut behind him, the sound echoing in the sudden silence.
He never went back to the water park. But sometimes, in the stillness of the night, he could still hear the moan. And in his nightmares, he would see the figure at the bottom of the slide, its pale face and hollow eyes watching him, waiting.